On tonight's episode, we're taking a deep dive into the Long Island serial killer. This will be a two-part episode. We should stress before we get too far into the case that this story will have discussions of incredibly real-life graphic violence, sexual exploitations, and discussions of serial murder.
Yeah, so I was hungover today, obviously, because I'm usually always hungover.
Yeah.
And
Surprise.
so when I went to lunch, I decided to order two things instead of one, because I just...
Two things?
You're like a garbage disposal when you're hungover. So yeah, so I got...
Why are you hungover?
Because I went to Quizzo last night, which is what the East Coast calls trivia.
Okay,
and they're very serious about it.
Dude.
Exactly.
I'm sure they're fucking deadly serious about it. Like, if you bring it up, they'll probably fucking stab you.
Oh, it's just like calling sandwiches hoagies. And everything's a John. Everything's a John here. Yeah. But, so I elected for two meals is what I ordered. Or I ordered an appetizer and a sandwich. And it was cheesesteak egg rolls, which is a staple at every restaurant. Yep. Obviously.
And
a Nashville hot chicken sandwich and fries.
I thought you were going to add a cheesesteak on top of the cheesesteak egg rolls.
No, I thought about it.
Man. All right, Nashville hot, though. Good for you.
And now I'm just like so uncomfortably full because I also washed that down with 4 Modelo's.
Okay, yeah. Sweet.
And
I love that for you.
I might have had a couple beers at the beach, too, today.
Oh, you had beach beers as well as lunch beers?
I had lunch beers and beach beers. It's my day off. I'm not here to be judged, Doug.
Technically, it's not your day off. We have a fucking podcast to record.
So what? About drinking.
I'm not here to... Yeah, that's fair. It's in the title.
All right, so...
Speaking of the title, Jamie, would you like to...
Not yet. Let's start our cheers.
Okay, sorry.
We start with the cheers. Don't get ahead of yourself there, Talkie. It's been a while.
Okay.
I'm going to need a minute.
Are you serious? No, not at all. I'm totally fine. Joke's on you guys. I've been practicing for this my whole goddamn life.
Forever. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Horror Whiskey Company, or Horror and Whiskey. So same two assholes under one name, new name, Horror Whiskey Company. Do we make whiskey? No. Do we make horror? No.
No,
do we talk,
not yet.
Do we talk about both of those? Yes.
Are we good company?
Yes.
That's for you to decide.
So since we changed our name to Horror Whiskey Company, I figured I would drink whiskey tonight. So that first shot, that's why my face was, is I had a nice shot of 1792. I actually bought this bottle for my girlfriend's brother for his birthday, and he never took it back to Philadelphia. So I'm
happy birthday, Brett.
You called him the wrong name, but
I don't remember what his name is.
Well, happy birthday. This was months ago. I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, that's fair.
But continuing with our theme, because you know I love themes, we're talking about true crime tonight. So obviously, I'm going to switch to fucking this giant jug of tequila.
Good for you, Jamie. Is that thing bigger than your head?
Look at it. Yeah, it's a 1.75 liter. So if anyone knows, most people buy the 750.
Half that.
Yeah. That's what happens when your aunt goes to the liquor store for you. She's like, I'm going to go to the liquor store.
Hey, can you pick me up a bottle? And she's like, oh, for that one? Sure.
She's like, I'm going to replace the tequilas because we have Espolón, and someone bought a bottle of Casamigos, and I think she drank so she felt bad, so she bought a 1.75
the biggest
of
bottle
Espolón
you can find,
and a 1.75 of Casamigos. And I hate Casamigos.
Wow.
I don't like it.
You know, I heard Casamigos is under fire.
It should be. It's
apparently they
gross, dude.
In trouble for adding all kinds of stuff to their tequila.
It's super.
And it was natural.
Have you ever drank it? It tastes like additive. It's like artificial. It tastes like those banana flavored things.
Yes. 100%.
You know, when someone's like, this is banana flavored. I'm like, no, it's not. There's no banana in the world.
That's not what bananas taste like.
That's what it is. It's like tequila flavoring. It's like syrup. It's like tequila flavored syrup. That's how I feel about Espolón.
Yeah.
Not Espolón. Espolón is near and dear to my heart. Casamigos.
We love good Espolón. Casamigos.
So since where I was getting at with this is, since we're talking about true crime, obviously it's time for true crime and tequila.
Yep.
Here at the Horror
Whiskey
Whiskey
have horror
Company.
and whiskey. We will have true crime and tequila. What else we got?
We have gin and ghosts,
and Campari.
We could do phantoms and Peychauds.
Oh, just shots of it?
Yeah, just shots of Peychaud's, dude. We could do
Murder in Midori. We just
Murder
drink Midori all
Midori.
night. You've talked
What
about
else is
hangovers
a-
before, but you haven't really experienced a straight Midori hangover, have you?
We could do cryptids and cans of Coors Light.
Oh, Coors.
Cryptids
Just
and Coors, dude. That's awesome.
Yep. Cryptids and Coors. We'll probably do that one, actually.
Actually, I talk about cryptid and just drink Coors originals, not light.
Yep.
Originals
Banquet
are
beer.
bangers.
Banshees and banquets, dude.
Well, to give myself a triple threat, so I've had whiskey, I've had tequila, and the next thing that I'm drinking tonight is Surfside strawberry lemonade and vodka in a can.
Wow. Is that a local thing? Where's that from?
It's out of Philadelphia.
Okay.
Oh, it's fucking phenomenal.
Is it delicious? It
It's
sounds
so
pretty good.
Well, so they marketed themselves as they made Surfsides that were iced tea and lemonade and vodka. And they're absolutely huge here because there's like no carbonation. It's just is what it is. And this is it. This is literally
Interesting.
just vodka and lemonade. Strawberry vodka and lemonade.
That sounds delicious, though.
No carbonation, so I'm not going to have any more belly problems than I already have
Sure.
from eating as much as I did.
That's what you need is more belly problems. All right. Well,
Don't. What you got?
I've got a very nice bourbon. The bottle is empty now because it's that good that I've been drinking it. So I figured I'd finish it up for this episode. I have the Isaac Bowman Pioneer Spirit. Now it is a straight bourbon finished in port barrels. Fucking delicious.
Let me
A
see
little
it.
spicy. Yeah, dude.
Show us.
Get right up in there.
Show us. You friggin' idiot. Thank you. It's clear. You
Normally
can't
it's
tell.
full. Normally it's brown. Normally the
Yeah,
whole thing's
it's-
brown.
It's empty.
But yeah, freaking delicious. It's a product of Virginia, not Kentucky. But yeah, I highly recommend it. I like a good wine finish on a barrel, or on any whiskey barrel. I think it smooths it out a little bit, gives it a little sweetness. I really liked it. The other thing I'm drinking just
What
classic
kind of wine barrel was it?
sherry. Well, I guess port.
Sherry. I guess all of them are sherry port. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same, right?
Yeah, I guess I've seen some cab Pinot finishes, but those don't really matter. You want that sweeter, like dessert style wine. The other one I'm drinking, just classic. We've talked about it. I don't know, what is it, 3 episodes in a row now? The old classic Blue Ribbon, dude. Pabst, can't change it. You don't want to.
It's almost like you don't drink at all other than these episodes, and you just have the same things each episode. Is that true?
You'd think that. It does appear that way, doesn't it?
Or you just only drink Jameson and Coke everywhere else you go.
I will not validate that statement.
Is it not true? Do you not drink that anymore?
No, that's pretty much the only thing I drink. Yep.
JMO and Coke.
Yep. I had a classy, refined palate and knows
You
what
do.
it likes. And it likes really shitty cocktails.
Just JMO Coke, dude.
Yep.
It's very weird. You've been like that forever, dude. But then, like,
As long as
when
I
you-
can remember, or
But like lately, say this past couple years, you've been really more of a bourbon, like neat drinker, not just like
Yeah,
buying bottles of Jameson.
I don't usually just buy bottles of Jameson. If I'm drinking Jameson and Coke, I'll buy Jameson, but for home, I like having some whiskey that like has a little bit more, nothing against Jameson. It's probably my favorite whiskey in the entire world. Has a little more complex flavors. Plus, there's only like 3 flavors of Jameson if you don't count the orange one, which I'm not. You can
Well,
only
the
try so
flavor-
much
there's more than
Jameson.
that. There's
I know, there's a
there's
ton of
cold
them.
brew. Well, they got rid
They
of
have the
cold brew.
20, the 18 year. They have black. They have
Orange.
yeah, but I'm not counting the orange.
They got rid of the other 2. You can't get like Blender's Blog or like.
Oh yeah, they
Cooper's
did get rid of
Crows
those
anymore.
special reserves.
I wish I would have kept those bottles, but I drank them all instead.
I drank them with you.
Did you drink those with me?
Yeah, remember?
No.
I guess that's fair. You wouldn't.
Why? Because we were drunk.
We just go back, play some chell, and then
Is
next
that
thing you know, a bottle of whiskey's empty.
Was that?
That's kind of how this one
when
got
we-
empty.
Is that you're playing Chell? With who? Who are you chelling without me?
You, dude. That's what I'm saying. You were there.
Oh.
We were playing NHL,
Okay.
and we would drink your whiskey. So thank
Yes.
you for that.
You're welcome. Those are fancy bottles to be drinking at 3 a.m.
Certainly, but at least we started the foundation with a pretty solid layer of New Belgium fruit smashes.
Smashers, baby. Smash Brothers. They don't make
Super
them anymore,
Smash
do they?
Bros. I haven't seen them in a while.
I did see that there's a place in Fort Collins that's making Baja Blast hard seltzer.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Like, why
blasters,
are we
baby.
like literally trying to like I feel like there's a target demographic for that audience, and it's maybe not the ones that are allowed to drink.
Yeah. Well, Baja Blast rules.
I guess that's fair. There's a whole generation. They probably don't even have. Does Taco Bell still have Baja Blast?
It has to.
It might be actually like maybe they do. But there's
I
kids
remember
like
the
us
one
that
they-
grew up drinking Baja Blast.
Yeah. I remember they came out with it in a can, and we would make tequila blasters with it. It would be tequila, Baja Blast, and I want to say Red Bull. And
Okay.
I thought I was gonna have a heart attack.
That's fair. It doesn't sound very good for you.
No, that was me and Mrs.
Like two
Lisa
things super bad.
Jones would do those back in the day.
Big ups in the chat.
Blasters, babe. Ups in the chat.
Ups in the
All
chat
right.
for Lisa.
I am rambling.
Just a little bit,
Should-
but
should I
we're
t-
just
should I talk
introducing,
about
dude.
Should I talk about what we're talking about, or did you go through all your drinks? You did.
Yeah, I did. I'm ready, dude.
If you missed it, just go back to the last 3 episodes, and he's drinking the same thing they drank then.
Except for the whiskey. The whiskey's
Except for the
very good.
whiskey. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm just giving you shit, dude. Well, all jokes aside, we did say we were going to be talking about true crime,
Yep.
and this is going to be a little bit out of our element because we are what Sabrina Carpenter would explain as man-childs, I believe, to keep us up to date with the current times.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a song from Sabrina Carpenter called
Okay.
Man-Child.
Okay.
We are idiots. We are children.
We are.
laugh at farts. We say but.
One of us laughs at farts. One of us is sophisticated.
Yeah, it's definitely me. I'm the non-sophisticated one. But we're going to be going through some pretty heavy shit on this episode. So we're going to try to keep it pretty serious and go from there. So without further ado, Peter, dive into what we're talking about, dog.
All right. So on tonight's episode, we're taking a deep dive into the Long Island serial killer. This will be a 2-part episode. We should stress before we get too far into the case that this story will have discussions of incredibly real life graphic violence, sexual exploitations, and discussions of serial murder. Also, we should mention that anyone named in this episode or episodes who has not been found guilty stands as that way. These are strictly our opinions. We need to mention that so that we do not get legally held responsible for saying that people are responsible for crimes that they have not been yet convicted of. So innocent until proven guilty. Am I right, dude?
Sure, dude. In our opinion, we can say whatever the fuck we want, right?
It is our opinion. That's
Yeah,
the
dude.
most important part. We are not the jury for this case, but it'd be crazy if we were because we don't live in the jurisdiction that it takes place.
Yeah, dude. And it's crazy that it's still like to this day because it's happened so long ago.
Yep.
All right.
So without
Kick into
further
it.
ado, I think we'll just jump right in. So there's something about the wind on Long Island. It carries the currents of the ocean. It hums the weight of the Atlantic. And sometimes when the air is still, you can almost hear what's been buried beneath. For a decade, this stretch of coastal highway just outside New York City held a secret, a terrible one. It was there just beyond the guardrails and under tall grasses. The police discovered the remains of 4 women. Their names were Melissa Bartholomew, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. 4 women, all in their 20s, all believed to have been in the sex work trade. All vanished without a trace until the winter of 2010 when their bodies were found. They weren't the first ones to go missing, and they wouldn't be the last. What started as a search for one woman, Shannon Gilbert, quickly unraveled into one of the most sprawling and haunting serial cases in modern American history. Known now as the case of the Long Island serial killer, or LISK, as it will be referred to from now on, it has become a system of institutional failure, of families ignored, leads dismissed, and victims forgotten because of who they were and how they lived. Tonight, we will begin the first of a 2-part story. We are not going to start with the arrest or the suspect. We're going to start with the women and with their lives, with the mothers and sisters and daughters who these stories were nearly lost to the marsh. And with one woman, Shannon Gilbert, the woman who may have been one of his victims, but who very well may have blown this entire case open. It started with a call to 911. Just after 4:51 a.m. on May 1st, 2010, Shannon Gilbert, 24-year-old aspiring singer from Jersey City, called emergency services from inside a gated community in Oak Beach, Long Island. Her voice was frantic. She was screaming, breathless, begging for help, saying over and over again, "They're trying to kill me." Now, this call would last 23 minutes, and for over 10 years, it remained sealed from the public. Just one more mystery wrapped around her final hours. Now, Shannon had arrived at Oak Beach that night with her driver, Michael Pack. She had arranged a session with a client named Joseph Brewer, someone she had met through Craigslist, as she often did when booking clients for her escort work. Before any signs of panic, there was a window of time where Shannon and Brewer reportedly left the house together for 15 to 20 minutes. According to later accounts, they may have gone out to purchase drugs, though no definitive report confirms that. Some believe that whatever occurred during the brief outing may have contributed to her mental state when they returned. Whether it was the consumption of drugs or an encounter with someone unknown, something seems to have changed after that trip. Upon returning to Brewer's house, Shannon's behavior reportedly shifted and she began to panic. Here's what we know. Sometime after 3 a.m., she began acting erratically inside Brewer's home. Michael Pack, still waiting outside, was approached by Joseph Brewer and asked to take the girl home with him. However, when he entered the house and tried to calm her down, she became more agitated and she refused to leave. Then, all of a sudden, she bolted. She ran out of the house and into this quiet neighborhood, alone, disoriented, and acting completely terrified. Over the next hour, multiple residents reported seeing her, knocking on doors, crying out for help, hiding behind boats and in bushes outside of their homes, fleeing from the people that were trying to help them. One of them, Gus Coletti, opened his door and tried to calm her down. He later told police she was terrified, shaking, incoherent, but unwilling to stay. So she ran again, disappearing into the night. Gus Coletti actually called 911, but by the time the officers arrived, Shannon was already gone. Michael Pack began circling the streets in his SUV. He told police that he tried to find her. He even called Brewer again, confused and concerned. But just like that, Shannon Gilbert, this young woman trying to escape from something, was swallowed by the dark. No one would ever see her alive again. Now,
Making light of murder. My bad.
Yep.
Thinking
And
about
we're
Dio
going to need
songs.
that. This case is going to get pretty heavy as we go through. We are not going to poke fun at any of the victims, but we may need some like mood lightening. So I think that's going to be your wheelhouse on this one, man.
Oh yeah, dude. I definitely was trying to like very hard listen into everything.
Oh.
And every time you say a certain word, I'd be like, go into song. So it's pretty hard.
You're just
Not to
sing
just start
songs this
singing.
whole time?
Maybe, who knows?
Okay. So
Swallowed by dark.
she was born in the dark.
That was pretty good, dude. Let me hear it again.
I was born in the dark.
Was that
Before-
Marvel? What are you doing?
No, dude, that's Bane, dude.
No, is
You
that the
merely
Joker?
adapted to it. Before you
The
know
Joker?
anything else, I was already a man.
The best Batman.
Which one? Bane? Bane
No,
wasn't Batman.
That whole trilogy was the best. Of
Oh
that.
yeah, for sure. The Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah. I don't know. I
Big
really
thumbs
liked
up.
the new one too with Twilight
The
Batman.
vampire guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
I like it's like a serial killer vibe. I like it's serious. It's right up our wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's a little bit more like less actiony, a little bit more thriller.
World's best detective. That's what they're going off of.
Yeah. Okay. Is that
That's
the strip or like
it's a series of Batman where he was world's best detective.
you ever see those Pete Holmes sketches where he's like pretending to be Batman?
Of course I have.
Justice, I'm the world's greatest detective.
Harvey Dent. Can we trust him?
Can we trust him?
Yes. All right.
No. Bah.
When he
I
tries
was
to find his
just a
voice.
boy.
Now I'm a bat. Back into our story. Okay, so before she became a headline, Shannon Gilbert was a sister, a daughter, and someone who wanted more out of life than the cards she had been dealt. She was born in Lancaster, PA, and raised in New Jersey. Her childhood was difficult. She spent time in foster care, and her home life was fractured. But even then, she had dreams, and she wanted to be a singer. She recorded her voice, posted clips online, and talked about moving to the city. She believed she could make something of herself. She was bright, beautiful, and deeply misunderstood. Now, Shannon did struggle with bipolar disorder. She had been on and off medication. She wanted to be independent, but had trouble holding down steady work. Escorting, though, platforms like Craigslist offered quick money and a level of control, at least on the surface. But it also placed her in dangerous situations with strangers and unfamiliar homes with no real safety net. By the time she had walked into Joseph Brewer's house in Oak Beach, she had done this before. But that something about that night tipped the balance. Whether it was a real threat or the result of her mental state, something made her run. What do you got?
Tramps like us, baby, we were born to run. I can't
Is that
help it. I'm sorry.
Springsteen?
Yeah, what was the one before that? Oh, what a night. It's great. I feel like a shitty human being that I can't focus and I'm just doing songs.
That's okay. We're going
Thank
to
you.
need this. So you just keep doing your thing, you know. But I don't think that was Springsteen. No, the one before was Rainbow in the Dark.
No, before that I just did Oh, What a Night. Right into Tramps Like Us, baby. Born to
Okay, good. So you're pretty much like, maybe after this episode, we can go back and actually make a Spotify playlist that's just all the songs that are popping into your head so that people can actually listen to this to a soundtrack.
Maybe
Does that work for you?
I'm not sure that you want people to know what my brain goes with.
No, I don't think so. But hey, why not?
Does Born to Run have the best saxophone solo ever?
Maybe. What about Careless Whisper?
That's more of like a riff, not a solo.
Okay, I'll give you that. I think you're correct. It is more of a riff, but I think it's a pretty ripping riff.
It's really good. But the saxophone solo on Born to Run is so good.
I guess I'd have to go back and listen. I guess I'm not super familiar with the E Street Band, right? Isn't that what they're called?
Yeah. All right, go on. Sorry.
It's fine. So
You're definitely not mad. I know that.
her mother, Mary Gilbert, had a strained relationship with her daughter, Shannon.
Mother.
Like many families caught in the chaos of mental illness and poverty. But when Shannon vanished, Mary's grief turned into fuel. She refused to let her daughter be dismissed or ignored, and she wasn't about to let the police bury this case beneath paperwork and bureaucracy. In the weeks that followed, it became clear. The Suffolk Police Department wasn't in a rush to find Shannon Gilbert. There were no press conferences, no task force, no sense of urgency. She was just a sex worker. She had mental health issues, and to many of the authorities involved at the time, that seemed to mean she didn't matter. But Mary Gilbert didn't see it that way. She became her daughter's advocate. She gave interviews, filed complaints, contacted anyone who would listen. She walked through the marshland herself. She begged for help. And then something happened. In December of 2010, 7 months after Shannon's disappearance, a police officer named John Malia was out training a cadaver dog. It wasn't part of a formal search. He was just using the area near Gilgo Beach to run drills. But the dog caught a scent, and what they found was not Shannon. Instead, the remains of another woman were discovered, buried off the side of Ocean Parkway. Within 72 hours, the bodies of 3 more women were found, each just a few hundred feet from the next. These victims were Melissa Barthélemy, Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, and Amber Costello. All women, all sex workers, all wrapped in burlap, and all had vanished between 2007 and 2010. But Shannon Gilbert was still missing. However, this discovery changed everything. What had begun as the search for one woman had just cracked open a serial case. So when the remains... What do you got?
You had a long pause. So I just thought I was adding emphasis for you.
Okay. Serial.
Exactly. Cereal, dear darling, cereal.
That's doom, 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 doom. Okay. Do you want to keep going? So now we have another song.
Yeah. Cereal. What's the real word?
Stir it up.
Stir it up. Did you look it up or you knew that?
I know that.
Why? Who sings it?
You don't know Bob Marley songs?
No. I didn't even know he sang it. Now I do. Definitely know. Stir it up. What does stir it up mean? That's weird. I like cereal better.
I don't know. I think it's like mix it. I don't really know. Put it in a blender.
That's Margaritaville.
That is true. It's kind of the same thing, I think.
Maybe. I don't know much about it. I guess we'll have to look up what Bob Stir It Up is about.
I'm going to leave that to you. Okay. You're your research assistant.
My computer's too far away.
Okay. So, when the remains of the 4 women were found along the remote brush of Ocean Parkway in December 2010 on Long Island, New York, investigators quickly realized that this just wasn't a tragic coincidence. The bodies were discovered within a few days of each other, positioned in a near straight line and buried less than 500 feet apart. Each one was wrapped in burlap. Each one had been left with care, but with also detachment, an eerie signature that suggested planning, control, and a complete lack of remorse. Whoever did this wasn't dumping bodies, they were arranging them. The similarities between the victims went beyond how they were found. These were women who had been overlooked in life and almost forgotten in death. They lived on the margins, often criminalized, often ignored, but they were daughters, sisters, and mothers. They
What's
were
living
loved.
off the margin? Oh, sorry. They were loved. You're right. What is living off the margins?
Like fringe. People aren't paying a lot of attention to them.
Never
Does that make
heard
sense?
either. Living off the
The
fringe.
margins, like the edge.
Yeah. Living on the edge, just like Aerosmith.
Are you? I don't know if I know that song. I'm not a huge
I'm
Aerosmith
living on
guy.
the edge. You can't help yourself from falling. There's something wrong with the world today. God knows it ain't here.
Add another song.
This is my eyes. You could see a wise man from the color of his skin. Mister, you're a bigger man than I. You're living on the edge.
No idea. Especially with your stirring rendition. I can't believe I didn't recognize those songs, but
You don't like it? You don't like it? It was just one song.
no. Yeah, I mean, I think we're at 5 songs now, at least.
Okay. Wow, this is
So
wonderful.
I really do hope as you're doing your editing, you can go back through and make a soundtrack for what went through Jamie's head during this episode.
Okay.
It's kind of an expose for Jamie's brain.
Here it is. Steer it up.
Okay. So each woman had vanished between 2007 and 2010, and all of them had been working as escorts at the time of their disappearance. They had families who searched for them. Some of them even had children. All of them had histories, stories that were complex, layered, and far more human than headlines would ever reveal. Before Gilgo Beach, they were labeled as missing persons. Their cases were quietly filed away, receiving little attention from law enforcement or the press. But after December 2010, that tide shifted. The discovery of their bodies didn't suggest a serial killer, it screamed it. And more than that, it marked a turning point in public conversation about who matters when they go missing and who gets forgotten. Melissa Barthélemy was 24 years old when she disappeared on July 2009. She had grown up in Buffalo, New York, and was described by her friends and family as smart, determined, and fiercely independent. Her favorite color was pink, and she loved doing her hair, painting her nails, and keeping up with fashion trends. She had a tattoo on the back of her neck that read Blaze, and she was known to be outgoing but guarded. Her dream was to become a hairstylist. She had gone to beauty school and worked briefly in salons. But like many others
School
caught
drop,
between... What do you got?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
Which song you on now?
No graduation day for you, beauty school dropout.
Okay.
You stirred your hair and flunked shampoo.
What song is this? Are you making this
Beauty
up?
school dropout. You mean I'm fucking making this up? It's Grease, dude.
Okay. Didn't know that. It's been a while. My bad.
It's been a while. You just
We can just
let me
add that
knock
one
'em
right
out.
in. Okay. So, like many others caught between rising bills and limited options, Melissa struggled to make ends meet. She eventually turned to escort work, though, through Craigslist. Not because she wanted to, but because it gave her a way to pay rent, send money home, and keep some control over her life. In 2009, she moved to the Bronx. She was careful and organized. She used a separate phone for work. She booked appointments meticulously. She even kept logs of her clients. Melissa was not reckless. She was doing what she had to do to survive. However, on the night she vanished, Melissa told her roommate that she was heading out to meet a client and would be back later. However, she never returned. Her disappearance might have remained a local mystery, just another woman who vanished in New York City, if not for what had happened next. Roughly a week after she went missing, Melissa's teenage sister Amanda received a phone call. The voice on the other end was male, calm and deliberate. He was calling for Melissa's phone. He told Amanda he had Melissa. Then he began to describe slowly, cruelly, what he had done to her. He called again and again and again for weeks. Eventually, these calls were traced to locations across Manhattan, near Times Square, Madison Square Garden, and Penn Station. Each time, the caller used crowded areas where surveillance was difficult and foot traffic was heavy. Police believed the man was taunting them, baiting them, or perhaps reliving his crimes in real life. Amanda was just 16. And the calls weren't just terrifying, they were personal. The man seemed to know things about Melissa's life and about her family. He would describe details that only someone very close or someone who had spent a long time listening would know. Investigators attempted to triangulate the calls, but they never managed to catch the caller. Whoever he was careful and methodical, just like the arrangement of the bodies found on Gilgo Beach. Melissa's remains were the first to be discovered by Officer John Malia with his cadaver dog in December 2010. Her body was found in burlap, matching the signature pattern later seen with the other 3 victims. She had been there, hidden in the brush, for over a year. But Melissa's voice, through her sister, through the chilling phone calls, had never fully disappeared. Her discovery was the first major crack in this case. It was the first confirmation that something larger, more sinister was unfolding on Long Island. And as investigators continued to search the area, it became clear that Melissa Barthélemy's story was just the beginning of a much larger tale. Melissa's case was horrifying enough, but the next body uncovered revealed something even more chilling, because she had been missing far longer and her name was Maureen, and her story would deepen this mystery. When police uncovered the body of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, they were startled to realize she had been missing the longest. Maureen disappeared on July 9th, 2007, 2 full years before Melissa Barthélemy.
Holy
Her
shit.
case, yeah. So as we keep moving through these, with the Gilgo Four, they're pretty closely centered, but the Maureen takes place long before the rest of the other three.
I forgot about
Yep.
that.
Yep. So her case by that point had actually been, whatever you want to call it, considered a cold case. There had been no major leads, no public attention, and no real pressure. She had quietly slipped through the cracks, just another name in a forgotten folder. No flyers, no press, just silence. She was 25 years old and had traveled from her home in Norwich, Connecticut to New York City to earn money. Her plan was short-term, to stay a few days, take a few calls, and return home. She had 2 children and had taken on the burden of being both caretaker and provider as a single mother. Escorting wasn't her dream, but it was a job that paid more than anything else available at the time. Now, Maureen often traveled and worked alongside a friend, someone she trusted, someone who helped her stay safe. These 2 women operated as a team in New York City, looking out for each other, checking in after each job. They had rules. They never went alone. They didn't take clients who gave off bad energy, and they didn't overextend themselves. But on this trip, the rules broke down. Her friend had left early to return home, and Maureen made a difficult decision. She was going to stay behind in New York and take on a few more clients. She was behind on rent, and she was fighting a custody battle. She needed to pay court fees. One more night meant maybe she could pull together enough cash to avoid eviction and keep fighting for her kids. That choice, one extra night alone, was a risk, and it was a break in her own code. Maureen had called her sister not long before she vanished. She sounded uncertain and a little bit nervous. She mentioned a client. She wasn't sure if she should go. Something to her didn't feel right. Her instincts were screaming at her. But more importantly, she needed the money. She had already invested in the trip, bus fare, food, her hotel room, and backing out meant returning home almost empty-handed. So she went, and that was the last time anyone heard from her. When her phone stopped ringing, when her online activity went dead. What?
I was just helping you get through the fumbling of the words.
Okay.
Sorry,
So-
I'm getting drunk over here while you're.
Yeah, dude.
I can't really say
Cheers.
anything. You're not getting drunk, and I'm just like ripping through these Surfsides. They are so good that they are deadly.
What percentage you got on that?
4.5.
Okay. You can drink like 9 of those. You'll be good. How many you got? They come in a 4-pack? It's only 4.5. You should at least get 10.
I bet I could probably do. Yeah, we'll see.
You can maybe just run out mid-episode.
I might have to if I only have 4 in here.
Okay. All
Either that or
I'll-
hurry
I'll
the
keep
shit.
rolling
Hurry
along.
this shit up.
I'll
dude.
keep pitter
Sorry.
patter.
Who keeps? Let's get at her. I keep distracting him. Sorry.
You're good. So, when her phone stopped ringing and when her online activity went dead, her family knew something was wrong. But when they reported her missing, the urgency just wasn't there. Officers didn't press. There was no big search, no wide sweep of the area. They just shrugged and waited. She was an escort, and in their eyes, that meant risk, that meant choice, that meant maybe she just decided to disappear. But that wasn't Maureen. She had responsibilities, she had a routine, she had her children, she didn't just vanish, and her family knew something was horribly wrong the moment she didn't show up for a court date related to her children's custody case. Her kids were her world. Missing court was unthinkable. Now, Maureen's disappearance was a slow-burning grief for her family. Her sisters fought for answers, her children asked questions, but there were fewer updates and even fewer people willing to keep the pressure on. In the public eye, she became another name in a long list of missing women, and the world moved on. But her family didn't. Maureen was the second of 4 siblings. She had grown up in a working-class home and had always been a little bit rebellious and a little headstrong. She had a sharp wit and a creative streak that often came out in her own writing of poetry. She wrote about struggle, about pain, and about identity. She believed in better days. She talked about going back to school. She wanted more, not just for herself, but for her kids. She had dreams beyond just survival. The people who knew her best described her as someone who didn't like to ask for help, but always was offering it. Someone who carried more than her share, even when she was barely holding it together. When her body was
Kevin?
found in December 2010,
Take a deep breath.
buried
dude.
in
You're
burlap beside Melissa Barthélemy, the full weight of what had happened hit all at once. She had been left in the same way, in the same place, staged, forgotten, and silenced. But this wasn't random, and it wasn't isolated. It was a pattern, and her discovery would change everything. Maureen wasn't just another victim. She was the earliest known one to detectives. Her disappearance pushed the timeline back significantly. It meant the killer had been active long before anyone realized. It also raised the horrifying question, who else was missing, and how many murders never are even reported? The investigation, how does that tie in?
It doesn't. I just
Okay. Walking to Memphis, add to the list. Okay. So The investigation, which once focused significantly on 2010, now stretched all the way back to 2007 and beyond. Maureen's case became the foundation for the Gilgo Four. Without her, there would have been no framework, no start date, no proof of how far back this predator had been operating. And in that, her voice, quiet for so long, became the one that would reframe this entire case. Her family didn't get justice, but they got answers and they got recognition. They got to see Maureen's name spoken, not as a footnote, but as a warning and a reminder, a human being who deserved better. Maureen's story forced investigators to expand their timeline, though. But the next woman to be found, Megan Waterman, would force them to expand their sense of who this killer was hunting and how he kept getting away with it. Megan Waterman was just 22 years old when she vanished on June 6th, 2010. She was the youngest of the Gilgo Four, but in many ways, she could have been considered the boldest. Megan had grown up in Scarborough, Maine, a small town where everyone knew everyone, and getting out often felt impossible. She was a mother to a young daughter and fiercely devoted to her. Every decision she had made was with her daughter in mind. But Megan hadn't just stumbled into sex work. She was introduced to it young, far younger than most had realized. So there was a steady stream of gang and mob-related activity that flowed out of New York City and into places like Maine when people wanted to party without being watched. It was in that scene that Megan met her boyfriend, someone who she believed cared for her and protected her. Or he was what is known as a Romeo pimp. He didn't threaten or coerce, at least not at first. Instead, he had groomed her. He made her feel like they were a couple, convinced her that they were in this together and that the money she made was for their future, that all of this was love. However, in reality, this was just a form of control. That's how Megan, still barely more than a teenager, was pulled into the world of escorting. It was subtle at first, part-time, just some extra money, but it quickly became her primary means of income. And once you're in, it's incredibly hard to get out.
How long did you hold that in for?
It's been a bit.
Yeah? And you
Yep.
waited for the perfect time that said it was incredibly hard to get it out and then coughed? Impeccable
Maybe.
timing. You all right? Need a water?
I should probably have some water, yeah. You
Soft
should
towel?
also drink some water, you fucker.
I don't have any water.
You don't drink water during our shows?
No. I just get hammered.
I mean, you can get hammered and still drink water.
No,
I
I
wonder you get so
refuse it.
fucking hungover.
Yeah, it's true.
Sorry, I didn't mean for this to be as pointed an attack as it's turning out to be.
Yeah, why are you getting so mad? Chill out, bro.
Shaka bra?
Yeah, you sound like all those people mad at you on the internet.
How so?
They're mad at you because you think Carrie was not innocent. So people are mad at you about it.
That's true, but like, that's just my opinion, man.
Yeah, dude. You're allowed to have your opinion, man.
Yeah, leave me alone, people. I'm just trying
Yeah,
to
dude.
live my life. Oh, shit, are you
Frickin-
just now opening this?
Yeah.
Are you? Oh, I thought you were just gonna chug straight out of the bottle.
No, I better not.
Why? You're gonna get in trouble?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, probably. You haven't chewed out before. All right, well, while you're getting yourself a nice little shot there, I'm gonna keep on rolling.
Keep going, dude.
All right, so in June 2010, Megan traveled to Long Island with that same boyfriend. He was also acting as a driver and her handler. They checked into a Holiday Inn Express in Hauppauge, Suffolk County. Megan was in touch with friends and family almost daily.
I love the attention to detail of the Holiday Inn Express instead of they checked into a hotel. They
Nope,
checked into
it's the Holiday Inn Express.
Are you sponsored?
You
or
gotta know
something?
where it's located, man.
Fair enough. All right, go on. Cheers.
So she said it was going to be a quick trip, just a few clients, and that she'd be home within the day. However, that Sunday in the early morning hours, she was seen on hotel surveillance walking through the lobby and exiting the building. It was around 1:30 a.m. She never came back. No one knows why she left the hotel room on her own. It's unclear whether she was just heading out to meet a client, or whether someone had lured her outside, or whether she was just going to the grocery store. There's no video of her getting into a car, no clear trace of where she went after stepping through those doors. She simply just vanished. What makes her disappearance even more chilling is its timing. Megan went missing nearly a month after Shannon Gilbert vanished from Oak Beach. So when Megan's mother, Lorraine Ela, began to sound the alarm, her pleas felt eerily similar. Echoes of the cries made by Shannon's mother, Mary Gilbert, just weeks earlier. Both women were shouting into the void, and both were met with indifference. Now, Megan's family knew almost immediately that something was wrong. She checked in often, always sent updates, always called, but this time the silence was deafening. Lorraine sounded the alarm. She reported Megan missing, called the press, and pleaded for help. At first, the police didn't seem to care, but Lorraine wouldn't let them forget. She pushed. She appeared on the news. She refused to let her daughter become another buried statistic. Megan's daughter was placed in Lorraine's care, and the weight of that loss really fell hard on her. Everyone who knew Megan described her as fearless. Not reckless, but fearless. She was street smart, protective, and tougher than she looked. But she had a soft side too. She was the kind of person who made people laugh. She could light up a room even when her own world felt dark. When the body was found in December 2010, wrapped in burlap, buried along the same stretch of Ocean Parkway as Melissa, Maureen, and Amber, that nightmare became real. The youngest of the Gilgo Four, but no less powerful in presence. Megan's story reminded the world that victims of the sex work aren't faceless. They're mothers, daughters, fighters. And Megan, she was brave, not for just doing what she had to do, but for trying every day to make things better for her and her child. While Megan's death sent shockwaves through the community, the last of the Gilgo Four, Amber Costello, would offer the police their first real break because someone close to Amber remembered a detail, and that detail would eventually point investigators in the direction of a name. Amber Costello, what you got? You're shaking your head.
I was just waiting for the name. And
Keeping awake?
What? No, I just was listening, and that suspense of the gap that you gave us.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, what name?
I don't mean to keep leading you.
I'm listening. You have my attention.
Dude.
No, you're good.
Right.
Don't apologize. Keep going.
Amber Costello was 27 years old when she disappeared on September 2nd, 2010. She lived in West Babylon, Long Island, just a short drive from where her body would later be found. Now, Amber had been through a lot in her short life. She'd grown up in North Carolina and, like many young women trying to make ends meet, had first stepped into the adult industry as a dancer. It wasn't a glamorous life, but it did pay bills. And at first, it even felt empowering. But the people around that world weren't always safe. Drugs were everywhere, and once they entered into the picture, it became harder and harder to maintain control. That world slowly pulled her into more dangerous territory. Eventually, Amber made the choice to leave the South and come back to New York, hoping to regroup and get her life back on track. She moved in with her sister Kim, her on and off again boyfriend known as Bear, and Kim's boyfriend, Dave Schaller. The three of them shared a modest rented home where Amber found something she hadn't in a long time: people she could trust. These were not perfect peoples, but they were hers. They cared about her, and they looked out for her. Despite her struggles with addiction and mental health, Amber was quite resilient. She had a quick wit, a fierce sense of loyalty, and a tough exterior that masked a deeply sensitive core. She wanted to get clean, and she wanted a future for herself. But survival required money, and sex work was one of the few options she had that could provide quickly. However, Amber wasn't reckless. She followed a set of personal rules. Most of her clients came to her own home, where her housemates were often nearby. They had a system. Amber would give a heads up if anything felt off, and someone would be ready to step in. Dave Schaller in particular played the role of protector. Amber even had a tactic where if a client made her nervous, Dave would come storming into the room pretending to be her angry boyfriend. It was just enough to scare off any creeps, and this system worked, and for a while it kept her safe, until the night it didn't. On the night of September 2nd, Amber got a call from a client. It was nothing out of the ordinary, at least not at first. Then he called again, and again, and again, and he was pushy, odd. Something about him had rubbed her the wrong way. But Amber was struggling financially. Bills were stacking up. The money offered was outrageous, and like so many women in her position, she pushed her gut feelings aside in favor of what she thought would be a quick payday. This time, she broke her own rules, and instead of having the client come to her own home, she agreed to leave and meet him somewhere else. That alone was strange, but what made it truly alarming was that she left her phone and wallet behind, something she never did. Her lifelines, her sense of safety, were gone. She walked out the front door and was never seen alive again. Her housemates grew anxious within hours. Amber had a pattern, and she always stuck to it. When her bed was still empty the next morning and her belongings untouched, they knew something was wrong. Dave Schaller called and then spoke with police, giving them what little detail he could remember about the man who had contacted her. He was a tall man. He owned a dark truck, a detail about his demeanor, but the information wasn't necessarily taken seriously, and it was filed away, buried. Amber's remains were discovered in 2010, hidden in the brush off Ocean Parkway and wrapped in burlap, just like the other victims. She was the last of the Gilgo Four to be found, and yet her disappearance was already the most recent. The freshest lead, the one that could have meant something if anyone had listened in time, because someone had remembered something. There was a truck, a face, and strange behavior. But back then, no one followed up. Amber's story isn't just one of tragedy, it's one of resilience, of someone who fought hard to survive, to try to make her life better. She was a fighter in every sense, and in the end, she may have left behind the only clue that may help catch her killer. Amber's discovery marked the fourth in a terrifying similar pattern. But when police finally began to look... Check 5?
I just said nothing. Go on. Never mind.
Okay. Well, when police finally began to take a closer look years later, it wasn't just about one missing woman. It was about a predator who had been hiding in plain sight in a set of clues that had been sitting in the dark, waiting for someone to care. So let's pick up where we left off a while ago. By now, we've walked you through the lives and disappearances of Melissa, Maureen, Megan, and Amber. We've told you their stories, and they're not just names on a list anymore, but they're real women, daughters, mothers, and sisters. We also mentioned that all 4 of them were eventually found together. But at the time of the discovery, that connection was still unfolding. So let's revisit the moment that changed everything. Not to retell you what you already know, but to focus on what that moment meant. December 11th, 2010, a bitter, wind-scoured day. John Malia and his cadaver dog were out on what was supposed to be a training exercise, followed up on the months-old disappearance of Shannon Gilbert. He wasn't expecting to find anything, but as his dog moved through the tangled windburned brush just off Ocean Parkway, it caught a scent, and Malia followed that scent. However, he didn't find Shannon. What instead he found was a body, a young woman, Melissa Bartholomew. Skeletal remains wrapped in burlap. In the days that followed, the search expanded, and all of those Gilgo Four, as they would come to be known, were found. From the moment those bodies were found, everything changed. For years, the cries of the victims' families had gone unanswered. Pleas for help were pushed aside. These women were labeled, judged, and dismissed as runaways or addicts, sex workers who had simply moved on. But now, with the discovery of their remains, arranged with a clinical precision, these once dismissed voices could no longer be ignored. Not just by Suffolk County Police, not just by the state, but by the entire country. What had once been invisible was now front-page news. The media descended on Gilgo Beach. Law enforcement scrambled to coordinate a sprawling investigation. A task force was mobilized. Cold files were reopened. Search grids were laid out along the parkway. Forensic experts, detectives, and volunteers all converged on this windswept stretch of Long Island coast. For the first time in a long time, people were listening. The details of the scene sent a chill through even the most seasoned investigators. All 4 victims had vanished after meeting clients. All were independent escorts. All had disappeared between 2007 and 2010. And now all had turned up within a quarter mile of each other, on a burlap, arranged with intent. And it wasn't an accident, and it wasn't random. It was a signature of someone who had planned, stalked, and who had returned. Suffolk County Police Department issued a rare but sobering statement. They believed that a serial killer was operating in the area. To the families, that announcement was both a validation and a heartbreak. Validation because they had known something was terribly wrong all along. Heartbreak because it had taken the discoveries of 4 bodies to get anyone to care. But that wasn't the end. Because once investigators widened their search, they realized the rabbit hole went much, much deeper. As Suffolk County Police expanded their search along Ocean Parkway, what they found next would shatter any illusion that the Gilgo Four were isolated victims. Shortly after the Gilgo Four were discovered, additional remains began to surface, but these weren't neatly placed or wrapped in burlap. They were partial remains, scattered. Some had been found years earlier in entirely different locations and were now being re-examined with new urgency. The remains came with chilling titles instead of names, for the most part. We had Jessica Taylor, originally known only by her limbs and skull, found along Ocean Parkway. Her torso had been discovered years earlier, in 2003, in Manorville. We have Valerie Mack, originally referred to as Manorville Jane Doe number 6. Her torso had been discovered in 2000, also in Manorville, and the additional remains were found in December 2010 by police. There was a woman named Peaches, whose torso was discovered in 1997 in a Rubbermaid container near Hempstead Lake State Park, identified by a peach tattoo. Her skull was later found near Gilgo Beach. Baby Doe was believed to be the child of Peaches. Less than 2 years old, her remains were found near Peaches' skull. Fire Island Jane Doe had partial remains discovered in 1996, and her skull was found years later in this investigation near Gilgo Beach. Asian Doe, a petite person assigned male at birth, who was found wearing women's clothing at the time. Others remained only by police-assigned identifiers. Jane Doe number 3, whose partial remains were found near the Gilgo Four, were not previously linked to any cases. And then we had Jane Doe number 7, another unidentified woman found in the search effort, initially suspected to be connected to another killer. Some of these victims were already known to police through earlier partial discoveries. Jessica Taylor, Valerie Mack, for example, had been partially recovered years before, but were only now, through these new findings, being seen in a larger context. So, over the following months, Suffolk Police Department and eventually the world began to realize the scale of what had been uncovered here in Gilgo Beach. The search along Ocean Parkway hadn't just revealed 4 women, it had unearthed a multi-victim burial site. Some of these victims had been dismembered, others were left intact but scattered across jurisdictions. What had once been treated as isolated missing persons cases were now clearly part of something larger, far larger, and far more deliberate. The dismembered remains of Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack were matched to torsos found in Manorville years earlier. The implications were chilling. Gilgo Beach and the surrounding area weren't just a dumping ground, they were the edge of a map that had finally begun to be filled in. Some of these women had been gone for years before Shannon Gilbert ever made her 911 call. But because of that moment, because someone finally listened, the scale of this nightmare began to reveal itself. With this expanded search underway, many believed the police would eventually find Shannon Gilbert too. And they did, but not in the way that anyone had hoped. 19 months. That's how long Shannon Gilbert family lived in limbo. 19 months of unanswered questions, of late-night phone calls to detectives who'd stopped calling back, of hope that dimmed with every cold sunrise over Oak Beach. Then came December 13th, 2011. A set of personal items was discovered in the marshland just east of where she had last been seen. Shannon's purse, her cell phone, her jeans, and her shoes scattered in the reeds like a breadcrumb trail left behind. And deeper in, hidden beneath the months of tidal rot and marshy grass, they found her. Shannon was lying face up in the brackish water. Her body had been degraded by the elements. It was a gut-wrenching moment, not the miracle her mother Mary Gilbert had held on to, but at least it was something, an answer, a place to mourn. A terrible kind of resolution that nonetheless brought some closure to the nightmarish question, where is Shannon? But even in that moment, there was no peace, because how she ended up there and why remained shrouded in confusion, contradiction, and grief. Disclosure would prove
excuse me.
as elusive. I needed a break anyway, so thanks for that.
You did, dude. You're like, whew, ask me questions or something. Like, get me involved.
I'm trying.
You went
It's like, I think that. What's up?
You went ham, dude. That was like 15 minutes straight. Have a drink, dude.
Yeah. Closure would prove to be as elusive as justice in this case. Almost immediately, the Suffolk County Police Department moved to classify Shannon's death as an accident. They pointed to her mental health history, the reports of erratic behavior the night she fled Oak Beach, and the natural hazards of the terrain where she was found. They claimed it was simple. Shannon had panicked, ran, become disoriented, and then drowned. But nothing about Shannon Gilbert's story was simple. Her family, especially her mother, Mary, pushed back hard. They knew Shannon better than a stack of police reports and speculative theories. Mary commissioned a second autopsy from renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden. What he found challenged everything the police had claimed. A fractured hyoid bone, an injury commonly associated with strangulation, scratches and abrasions inconsistent with falling or drowning, and there was no water in the lungs. And yet, the official ruling remained no homicide, no foul play. Cause of death was undetermined. To the Gilbert family, this wasn't just bureaucratic failure. It was a refusal to see Shannon as someone worth fighting for, and the world noticed. The media quickly began to pick up on discrepancies, questioning why the police were so quick to close the case while vital forensic evidence was being downplayed. What emerged was a portrait of indifference, of a case being swept aside, because maybe it was easy for the public and law enforcement to believe that this was just a tragedy rather than something much darker. But Mary Gilbert refused to go quiet. If no one else was going to speak for her daughter, she would scream. She held rallies. She spoke to anyone who would listen. National media, local reporters, true crime forums. Mary became the relentless voice behind her daughter's name, not just a grieving mother, but an advocate for all the women who had been lost to this system, ignored because of their lifestyles, and forgotten because of their labels. She humanized Shannon in a way that no headline ever could. She made people feel who Shannon was, the laughter, the stubbornness, the music that she loved, the way she called her mother too late at night, the dreams she had for something more for herself. And Mary didn't stop there. Her advocacy forced a new conversation about how sex workers are treated in the justice system, by the media, by society. Her fight gave rise to pressure campaigns, renewed interest in the Lisk case, and louder chorus of voices demanding justice, not just for Shannon, but for all the women whose lives had been reduced to crime scene photos. However, in a cruel and almost mythic twist of fate, Mary's story ended tragically. 16, she was murdered by her own daughter, Sarah Gilbert, Shannon's sister, during a psychotic episode brought on by untreated bipolar disorder. It was a horror few could comprehend. A woman who had already lost so much, taken too soon by someone that she had loved. Still, Mary's legacy remains indelible. She became more than just a mother mourning a daughter. She became a lightning rod for change. A woman who stared down apathy and demanded the world to care about someone that they were ready to forget. Whether or not Shannon Gilbert was a victim of the Long Island serial killer, she was absolutely a victim of systemic failure. And Mary, through her persistence and passion, ensured that no one could ever again pretend otherwise. But then there was silence, and the years passed, and the discoveries slowed, and the momentum in this case faded. But beneath the surface, there were questions that lingered. What happened next would take over a decade and a complete overhaul of Suffolk County police leadership. After the body of Shannon Gilbert was found in December 2011, it felt like the case had run its course. The Gilgo Four had been uncovered, the marsh had been combed over, the strange grisly discoveries found along Ocean Parkway had slowed to a halt. The once surging tide of media attention began to ebb, and the urgency faded, and so did the will to act. There were still a few press conferences and the occasional interview, a name whispered here, a theory thrown out there. But years passed, and leads dried up, and the longer nothing happened, the easier it became to assume the mystery would remain unsolved forever. Families kept calling, journalists kept writing, advocates kept shouting, but it all seemed to be bouncing off the walls of an institution that had already moved on. Meanwhile, the county itself was unraveling. In 2012, the newly elected DA, Tom Spoda, and his close ally, Suffolk County Police Chief James Burke, assumed control of the investigation. And under their leadership, something strange happened. The case just stopped. Progress had halted, and internal communication had broken down. Anyone who pushed too hard got shut out. Then, 15, all of this exploded. Chief James Burke was arrested by federal agents, not for misconduct in the List case, but for assaulting a suspect who had stolen his duffel bag. That duffel bag, it turns out, was filled with pornography, sex toys, and other deeply personal items. To make matters worse, he had enlisted other officers to cover it up. The FBI opened an investigation. What they uncovered was a deeply corrupt department and a DA's office more focused on protection than prosecution. DA Spoda himself was later convicted of witness tampering and obstruction of justice. His empire collapsed, and with it, the credibility of the very institution meant to solve the Gilgo Beach murders. It wasn't until 2022 that hope returned. With Spoda and Burke gone, a new team took over, one not mired in scandal, not beholden to the old guard. They formed the Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Investigation Force, and for the first time in a decade, the case had real momentum. The new team starting from the beginning, re-examining calls, checking timelines, digging into digital records that had been ignored or misfiled. It was tedious, grinding work, but something was different now. There was no one blocking the doors, no one burying evidence. And within months, something emerged, a pattern and a name, and a faint outline of a suspect who had, for over a decade, evaded justice. But for the public, there was silence. Until July 3rd, when a man named Rex Heuerman was arrested on the streets of Midtown Manhattan, a man who no one saw coming, a man who lived in plain sight. The storm had returned, and this time, it was not going to pass quietly. And that's where we'll pick up next time in part 2, because when the walls finally came down and the truth began to rise, it wasn't just about one man. It was about every single failure that let him slide for so long. Next episode, we will name names, follow the trail of evidence, and begin to piece together how a decade of silence ended with handcuffs on Fifth Avenue. So, Jamie.
I don't know why you keep saying we. You got a mouse in your pocket or something?
Yeah, dude. Me and my little
Peter's
mouse.
going to list stuff. I'm going to say funny things and banter and get drunk, because that's what I do. With that being said, please, lost my train of thought. Please like and subscribe.
You're
if
good.
you
You got
enjoy what we're
distracted by
doing here.
things.
Yeah, you saw something shiny. Please like and subscribe. Tell all your friends.
Yeah,
Once
dude.
again, we are not drunk and demonic. We are.
No, we used to be.
Whiskey
Now we're just
Company.
normal guys. Yep. We sticking with
What
the
else?
same tagline, dude?
Yeah, dude. Why would you not?
All right, you want to start it?
Stay weird.
Stay wicked. Stay wasted.
Yep.